But really, the point is you have to keep going to the inside. So I think ideally where I land is you have to be independently you with a tacit agreement that we're still collectively one. Like there's more in our spiritual DNA that makes us more alike than things that make us similar. But you still have to have your bearings, your engagement with the living God, or you're going to take regurgitated, already chewed up food that's being spit into your face, and it's not coming through your consciousness. It's not registering, but it has to happen inside. There has to be an experiential, this is my deep conviction, but it is my conviction. It seems like you have to roll into an experience of this for yourself so that you have the ability to stand and say, I can receive this, but I quite honestly have to reject that. And that's a real good skill to build that discernment for yourself. It also gives you a deepened ability to hear other people who don't believe exactly like you do, and not judge the shit out of them right away, and let them be where they are, because you're now stable enough in where you are. Even if you only know a little bit. Like when I unloaded all my theology, I unloaded all of it. And I even tried to whitewash God out. Oh man, this thing would be so much easier without him. I couldn't do it. I couldn't whitewash him out. So when I was walking through time and space, the first piece of theology for me was there is a creator. I thought I knew him, but now I know I don't. But I believe that presence is there. And so when I started getting confused or I started getting bogged down, I would come back to this one little piece that I really need. I believe there's a God, and I believe based on history and the testimony of the universe and what I feel inside, he's good. And as I just walked in that one truth and I stayed on my path, I was able to bring another piece and then another little, and I cobbled this thing together. I shouldn't say cobbled, it actually was beautifully built, but it just takes time. But you have to go through the thought process. You have to have that discernment, develop that discernment to find out what checks and really registers with you and what just can't settle. For example, Emanuel Swedenborg was a phenomenal human being who had wild experiences in the spiritual realm, according to him. Very insightful. He wrote volumes about divine love and wisdom and has a really elegant theology. And I was really fed by him for about a year, but there was some things that I just couldn't fit in, so I would just push them aside. I really wouldn't even give them much attention. Kind of like eating the meat. Like you talk about hell, I wasn't ready for hell in a lot of ways, because even when I was deep in Protestant and I was a pastor behind a pulpit, I had issues with the hell concept. But the movement I was in and my training told me this is hell. This is the theology of it. Here's the theology of judgment. Here's what's going to happen. But it never found a real home in me. So I rarely taught on it. I only spoke on it briefly as I would go verse by verse through the Bible. I would hit inevitably a couple verses that deal with that concept. I would have to give the storyline to it. But it wasn't mine at all. It was the church. It was Protestant. It was the old handbook, if you will, in air quotes. And I felt obligated to kind of toe the company line. Oh yeah, this is what it is. Turn or burn. You gotta get right or get left. That's where that phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid" comes in. That's the Jim Jones experience. Is you're just drinking it all without discrimination. And I know there's a verse in Isaiah where Isaiah the prophet is saying, this is what the Lord says, come, let us reason together. Come, let us reason together. Like he's given you enough equipment on the inside, spiritually, for us to make those decisions. Not me, Mr. Tolle. Mr. Tolle helps quite a bit because he's walked the path. But we don't need him. We don't need Pastor Who's Who. We don't need Guru What's His Face. And what we need is time turned to the inside with that focused concentration to say, that's where the truth is. It's going to come through your consciousness. It's going to come through your heart. And it's going to align with your mind. And it's going to find a home. And I am going to propose that if it's actual spiritual truth, and I do believe there is truth out in the universe, don't know it all, can't articulate it all, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. I just believe there is. I think there's a truth detector. I think there's a way for your ignorance to know that. But it's a high bar. Like, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to not be critical to be critical. You can't just be a contrarian and say everything's wrong until you prove it right. When I was studying spiritual people, and to this day, when I'm reading a new book from a new cat that said something that I'm interested in, I'm giving this guy the benefit of the doubt. And I'm reading it going, what you're saying is true, and I'm going to receive it that way until my inside finger goes bing and tells me, like, whoa, time out. I can't settle that one down. I can't fit that one in my body. Then I literally don't. I just move it aside and I jump over it and I go to the next topic, the next item. And the belief in question was, do you believe you have choices about the state of consciousness you're in? And the funny thing about belief, it seems to me, is that if you believe you can, you probably can. And if you believe you can't, you probably won't. Because belief is that power. Like, there's a lot. You know, in one passage, the Master Jesus was talking to the centurion whose child was sick. And he was like, come with me. Come and heal my girl. And he was like, no, I don't have to. Go your way. It's going to be okay. And there's another where a centurion, a higher sergeant, was asking Jesus to heal her. And Jesus is saying, I will come. And the centurion's going, no, you don't have to come. You just have to say the word. I too am a man of power and authority, and I say one to one, go, and he goes. To another, come, and he comes. So you just say the word. And you know what Jesus said to him? He said, as you believe, so may it be unto you. As your belief is, let that be unto you. And his daughter was healed. Jesus sat right where he was because he was healing consciousness. And that shows me this dichotomy of belief. One needs him to come. Another one says, I don't need that at all. And it's not the belief system. It is the belief about belief. And if you can get your head around the belief about beliefs, that they are powerful, that they operate like the 90% of the iceberg that you don't see. Because when you think about it, a belief literally is just very well practiced thought. Thought we have thought over and over, given it credence. Which is why I know for sure, because I've done it, that you can change those beliefs. You can literally massage those things you believe through your intellect, and then coaching the other parts of you to begin to speak that belief versus maybe a less empowering belief that things don't work out. Like, that's one that I have just locked on to since I was in GP. I I used to write it on my board. The ball bounces my way. Things just tend to work out for me. And I honestly, to my bones, believe that. And I practice that. And I rehearse that. And it keeps me in my skis. It helps me keep my shit together. And that belief has just worked out over and over and over because I watch it work out. And then it reinforces that belief that, yeah, things just work out. Things just tend to work out for me if I let them work out. And I never get too shaken because of that belief. But if you have a belief like this thing, like it's, this is how it's like Murphy's Law. If it's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong on me. Like, that's a dangerous belief system, but it's a powerful belief system because you can literally talk yourself into finding all this evidence around you and then double down and re-support that belief. And so, relevant to what we're discussing about these emotional spike periods of like happiness, these periods of really being bound by ego and bound in thought, without some kind of underpinning of belief, without an underpinning that there's an operating principle in you, there's an operating presence within you. You could easily just keep talking yourself into woes and sickness and misfortune and ill-fated events. And I think we have a little more sway over that, and it really is this journey into the mind and realize how tender it is, how readily it responds to